Hello and welcome to Get Rich Slow, the podcast that challenges the conventional get rich quick ideology and instead explores what authentic success really means and how you can achieve it. I'm Hannah Martin, the founder of Talent Ladies Club, and today I am joined by Katie Phillips. Now, Katie is a transformational, could be my own handwriting here.
Transformational master coach.
That's it. I thought it was master. Transformational master coach, midlife, love and dating mentor. And we're going to talk about patient business. And I've called it patient business because this whole podcast, if I could even say my own business name and podcast name, intro properly, it's all about getting rich slow. And I've known Katie for a few years, and I really want to talk about the honest story of how you run a business and why patience really matters. So hi, Katie. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me. And I really like that. Yeah, getting rich slow. I like that. It feels so counterintuitive. And that's half the problem. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about that. Good.
I know. Well, the whole thing is that I'm so sick of people saying I made 7 figures in 3 days and things like that. When I know the truth about an honest business, and when I say honest business, I mean, I'm not saying that that it's not honest to be able to earn money quickly, but an authentic business where you lay the foundations down properly and build it over time so it lasts. And I really want to talk about that because that's not often talked about, and it can leave people. That's why I want to talk to you, because it can leave people feeling they're doing something wrong if they're not making money really, really quickly. So before we talk about your story and how you've built your business, can I ask you what success means to you?
To me, success means having mastery over my time and lifestyle. Like, I want to be in charge of my time and I'm in charge of my lifestyle. And nothing lights me up more than I did it last week. So I just recently declared that Fridays are a half day for me. And probably in about 2 weeks, it'll become, I don't work Fridays. I just don't function that great on a Friday. So there's something about the calendar turns to Friday and I go, yeah, I'm done. Thank you. And I can feel myself forcing myself through the day because I should. And I don't do shoulds when it comes to my work and lifestyle, because I think if we work in alignment with who we are and what feels true for us, that's where success actually occurs. Anyway, last Friday, my son and I went to the cinema. We saw the Top Gun film, which I absolutely loved, and we got bubble tea, and we were just in our element, and my heart was bursting because I was just having this quality time with my boy. To me, that's the ultimate success. Taking holidays whenever I want, that's success. Having that level of control over my time and choosing my lifestyle and having my work around my lifestyle. And in fact, for me and my work, the two are so inextricably linked that while I do have weekends off, I do that because, that fits my son's in school. So he's off on weekends. It makes sense for my family. My husband has a job that means he has weekends off. So we take those days. But actually, it wouldn't bother me if I worked a Saturday or a Sunday because I was taking other time off during the week. Or if if I worked an hour or two a day, 7 days a week, fine, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But it's like what feels good for me is the most important thing. And that's when I feel successful. If my work isn't feeling good to me, if the way I'm contributing to the world, to my community, to my family, if there's a disconnect, if at any point it doesn't feel good to me, I'm not succeeding.
Excellent. I totally, it's really funny. Like every single guest so far has said a version of that, which I think is real. No one has yet said it's about designer clothes or it's about a car or it's about, holidays, like luxury holidays. It's about kind of what they really want to do with their time and having the freedom to choose. And obviously money does buy that because without earning enough money and 4 days a week, you can't take Fridays off. But can I still talk to you about, sorry, carry on.
Well, I'm just going to say, keeping it real, I do feel successful on a financial level. I don't have to worry about where money's coming from anymore. You know, it doesn't feel that long ago when I was genuinely, when I first started my business, and I started it at a point in my life where I didn't have any money, and actually literally putting food on the table and getting petrol in the car, actually at one point having somewhere I could afford to live was a real issue for me. And that was the same time as starting my new business. And I remember there was several years there where, like, it's not that I didn't feel successful, because it was interesting. I was succeeding in lots of personal aspects of my life. But now, knowing I don't have to worry where the money's coming from, I don't have to worry how to pay the mortgage, then it was the rent. I don't have to, not worrying about that feels hugely successful to me, definitely, because it just takes the pressure off and it allows me to really receive the lifestyle I'm creating.
Definitely. I think for me, it's funny how there's little things, isn't there? Like, you know, I struggled for many years, and I remember, like, I would go out with friends for dinner, and you know who wants to be that person that says, oh, I only had like a side salad, so therefore can I just pay this part of the bill? So when you go out to dinner, you always pay a share of the bill. And I would like, I would always choose the cheapest thing. And, like, you know, if a friend said, oh, I'll have the fillet steak, inside I'd be like, no. Because I'm like, it's going to add the bill up. And for me, like, the measure of success, when I could go out with my friends and I didn't look at the prices, and I didn't care what other people ordered. I wasn't worrying that, you know, if someone would go, oh, I don't know whether to have the pasta or the steak, and I'd be like, oh, the pasta looks really nice, because, you know, I try to keep the bill down.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I hear you. I've been there, and yes, it does make me feel more successful, but it's that's not how I would define success. Like, I remember when my business coach and mastermind buddies celebrated my first 6-figure year, and it was great. They popped the champagne, and then I went, yeah, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the success in that moment. From a head perspective, like, the energy was up here, and from here it was like, yes, I did that, tick. I didn't have a feeling in my body of success. I get the feeling in my body of success when I'm sat watching Top Gun with my son drinking bubble tea. Right? Yeah.
I prefer bubbles rather than bubble tea, but I totally get that.
Yeah.
But can I ask you, like, what's your background then? So before you started your business, what was your career? And then how did you go from being employed to wanting to start a business?
Yeah, I mean, I was employed for as long as I've been employed since I was 14. I've always had a boss. I now declare myself unemployable, and I love that, unapologetically unemployable now. I mean, so I used to work in PR and advertising. That was my first kind of workspace, and that moved me into the world of events. And then I went into really specializing in sports events and corporate hospitality at big events like Grand Prix and football, rugby World Cups, Olympic Games. So I did a lot of traveling, going to big international sports meets. And then I had a job where I worked in a logistics company alongside the England football team, and I did the logistics for all of the England football press. So I was doing a lot of travel with England football, and I was good at it, and it was fun because I was always jumping on a plane, going somewhere, and yeah, I mean, did I get paid well? Events industry, you don't get paid that well, but I covered my living because I had a lovely life, I had a great lifestyle. I never knew I would end up in the world of transformational coaching and writing personal development books, and my goodness, to then evolve that work into now supporting midlife single women to help them meet their person, when for years and years and years that was my biggest personal struggle and pain point. It is a pinch me moment to realize that the work I'm doing in the world is something that not only once upon a time would I have been hugely cynical and judgmental of, I'm actually working in a space where I experienced the most drama, the most disappointment, the most heartbreak, the most pain. And it's now my career. I mean, it's just crazy to me how things evolve. So while I have chosen my work now, in the same breath, it wasn't a choice. It was also, it was like life guided me here. It's like I don't have a choice. It guided me here, and it's less a choice and more an, well, of course, like of course this is what I was meant to do. Like now it all makes sense. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the struggle, the drama, the pain of many years of my life now makes sense.
Do you remember a moment then that you tipped from being employed to starting a business? Was there a moment of inspiration, or was it a practical thing that you decided you couldn't physically work in employment anymore? What was the tipping point for you?
The tipping point was, it wasn't in one instant moment. It happened over a period of months. And it was when I hit my proper personal rock bottom. And I had this realization that the way I felt was a result of what I was thinking, and the way I was behaving in the world and the way I was behaving in relationships was a result of my conditioning and programming. And while at the time I couldn't quite put that into words, I started to realize that I could perhaps, it started to drop in for me, maybe I could change my experience of myself and how I felt and my experience of life in general. And maybe I could come out of this space of feeling like a victim in life and do something about it. And I went on my own journey and hired coaches and did some deep healing and transformational work. And as I did that, I came to realize more and more, oh my goodness, we really do have the ability to be in charge of what we think and how we feel and what we create in our world. And then I just became evangelical about it, because I was just like, how do people not know about this? And if I can begin to create change as quickly as I did, knowing where I was coming from and how on the floor I was, but gosh, if I can, maybe other people can. And I just, honestly, I became evangelical. I'm like, other people need to understand this. And so in my own little way, I just started to share my story, and I started to talk to people, and I started to do some different trainings and run little workshops. I started running little vision boarding workshops because that was new information to me. I didn't know you could stop and vision into your future and make that happen. So I just started little, and then it grew and grew, and before I knew it, it became a business.
And so when you first started making it a business, how did it grow initially? Did you find it easy to attract customers? Was it quite difficult? And then did the money come with, so sometimes you can have, like, say, for example, TLC in the first few years grew hugely in terms of an audience on the site, but I hadn't quite worked out the financial side of it yet. And that took a bit longer to come. So sometimes success could be two parts, can't it? How did that happen for you?
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So it really has been multiple stepping stones and kind of multiple versions of the business until it is what it is today. It's really evolved over time. So to go right back in the very beginning, part of my own personal growth was the invitation to tap into who is Katie really? What does she value? What lights her up? And something I'd never acknowledged was my creative, artistic talent. And so I started to combine my learnings around my personal growth. And a tool that really worked for me was affirmations. Turning limiting beliefs into positive beliefs, and then creative affirmations. So I started creating artwork out of affirmations until that artwork became beautiful hand-pulled screen prints of affirmative words, which became a product range. And that product range went from artwork on the wall to beautiful leather-bound journals to iPhone covers and bags and T-shirts. Suddenly, I found myself working in the world of retail, and I remember doing a pitch to John Lewis, thinking, and I hated the process of pitching to John Lewis. They were really interested, but then it was the price point thing, and I absolutely hated it. And I woke up one day and I thought, oh my goodness, I've gone from living my dream, essentially being an artist, creating beautiful handmade items, to working in retail, and I just wanted to spread messages of love and positivity. And I hated it. So I stopped. Was I making money out of it? Not really. I was making ends meet, which was great. And I think it's important to say I didn't just jump out of corporate either. So I realized I wanted to do this, but I needed to still put food on the table. And so I found a part-time job in the events world, which actually paid incredibly well. My part-time job paid me more than I used to earn full-time. So I kind of covered my baseline costs, which was so important. I think when you're creating a business, particularly from a place of it's pure inspiration, it's heartfelt, it's pure joy, and it's not making money yet, and it might not make money for a little while. You can't create and produce and serve people from that place of real love and passion if you're wondering how you're going to pay the bills. So I combined the two, and I will never forget the day. It was about 2.5 years in when I went to my boss in this part-time corporate job and said, I'm going to take my business full time. And it was the scariest and most exciting moment when I absolutely left corporate behind me. But by that point, on the side, while working my corporate job, I'd been doing a lot of trainings, and I decided that I wanted to move into the world of coaching and support women in that way. And I invested money that I absolutely did not have in a lot of training. And I put it on a credit card, and I made a pact with myself that this was an investment. And I made the pact with myself that I would pay it back within the year. And I did. But it really takes that absolute commitment to yourself. There was no way I was willing to get into debt and create some kind of big financial burden in my life. I invested in myself and the business, and then it began to grow, and it went from helping women to know and love themselves, all women, no matter their pain point, to now helping very specifically women who are midlife and single, who want to meet their person. It's still the same work, it's still the same coaching, it's all around self-love. And I mean, it's pretty amazing to me that I have a successful business where, 13 years in now, and it's the foundation of it is self-love. I mean, that's kind of amazing to me. And it's beautiful to reflect on how it's evolved as I've grown, because in the beginning I was a single mum. I was a single mum for 8 years and really struggling for part of that as I was setting up my business. And then my personal growth and my investment in me had me then meet my man. And then I could actually shift the gears a little bit in terms of my niche and focus with the business into helping women who wanted to meet their man too, because I'd done it. And the business has always been, which I'm really proud to say, has always been very authentically aligned with me and my journey and what I'm currently passionate about. And the moment I lose the passion and the drive and the authenticity, I know it will shift again. Because that feels good. I have to always follow what feels good.
I think three things really strike me from your story, and all of which I have experienced as well. And one of that is that the hard work. It sounds like you've put in a lot of work over that time, and that consistent hard work. It does take that. Second thing is listening to your intuition, to your gut. Does this feel right? And walking away from something that doesn't feel right, even if potentially it might have made you money. And the third thing is an investment in growth and learning. And I think, and I know certainly with Times Ladies Club, I would not be sitting here today talking with you had I not at times invested in the right training and growth, because we never have everything we need in us. We might have skills in some area, but there's always going to be something we lack. And the only way to get that is to invest in it. And I think that something also comes from, I know myself, when I have made a considerable investment, the first ever proper business coach I ever hired, she cost me more per month than TLC was bringing in at that time. But I knew that if I didn't, a bit like you, the pact that you made, I knew that if I didn't do that with her, I never really unlocked the sort of financial potential in it. And I made a pact that I would earn back what I did. And I did. And like you, within 6 months, I was easily earning what I was paying and much, much more. So I think those are really important elements that I think that lessons other people can really take. And if someone's listening and feeling stuck, those are key things for business success.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, my business coach now is considerably more than my mortgage. and that's really interesting to me because I believe that we invest our time and money in what we value. And if we're not investing our time and money in what we value, then we really need to take a cold, hard look at that. And so clearly, if I'm investing that much money in a business coach, it's because I really value not only the personal growth that comes from that, because I think your business is the best personal development program you could ever go on. If you want to really know your value and your worth and what you stand for, and that you're going to discover that in your business, and every day you're challenged on those points. But yeah, I think investing in yourself, not just in the business as well, investing in yourself personally is absolutely key. It's an ongoing thing. I don't think we can serve at a high level if we're not continually feeling supported and like we are growing.
Absolutely, because the business is us. We run the business, and it can only be as good as our skills in doing that. But also emotionally as well, because it's tough. When I work with entrepreneurs, half of what I do is kind of showing them how to set up a spreadsheet to manage their incomes and outgoings, or teaching them marketing and pricing. And half of it is just being there that, when they're doing competitor research, they come back and they feel like giving up because they see other people doing brilliant things, and where's the space for me? Or, they've had a launch and it hasn't gone well. And having that resilience to come back from that, go, right, okay, let's get analytical. Why might that not have gone how you wanted? Or let's reframe how you're looking at something. And that emotional support's really, really important as well, isn't it? That personal strength and resilience.
Yeah, it really is. Absolutely. No doubt. And, it's learning to value that. Often we don't value that support, but it's the key to everything.
No. Yeah. So talking about cold, hard money. So how long would you say it took for your business to be profitable? And I say profitable in a sense where you sort of went, like we're talking at the beginning about, I have enough money, like I don't feel like I'm struggling. How long did that take you to get to that place?
It's funny talking about profit, because have you read the book Profit First? Do you know of the book Profit First? Yes. Yeah. So that was actually a real game changer for me. And I only read that book a couple of years ago. So it's only been 2 years that I've actually physically been putting profit money into a different account. So, because I've been like guilty of that typical small business owner that any money that's made just sort of goes into the personal account and it just gets used. And I mean, I have savings, obviously, but I've never actually gone, okay, profit. And not know what I'm going to be doing with that yet. It's just an interesting shift, and what an amazing shift to even be able to do that. It's just, to me, that's incredible, especially when I know my journey and financially how on the floor I have been at certain points. How long did it take? I mean, I suppose it was a solid 5 years before I felt like, okay, like the money's coming in, I'm doing all right. I'm not struggling, but actually believing that, because really feeling safe and secure and able to really lean back into just that, knowing there's more than enough money to cover my basic survival costs. That was a huge thing for me. And I'm not going to lie, there's still a seed of it in me. It's very, very small now, but there's still, because I have, there was a period of time where I didn't have anywhere to live, and I had a little boy and I was couch surfing. I didn't have any money. I could not, I had to take housing benefit for a few months at one point, which was the most, for me personally, that was the most shameful, awful experience, until I had a word with myself and said, Katie, you've been working since you were 14. You've paid your taxes. You've contributed to society. This is the support that you deserve for this little period of time. And I have had times of just actual, like proper financial trauma, actually, without going into all the stories, some real financial trauma. And I'm still healing from that. So it was only, let me think. I remember standing in my sister's kitchen in Australia the last time I visited. That was 3 years ago. And I remember saying to her, gosh, and I showed her my bank balances. So I got out my phone, my Barclays bank app, and I showed her, and I was like, look at all of this, look at all of this money I have in my ISA. Look what I've got in my savings account. Look what I've got in my business, like my functioning accounts. I don't have to worry how to pay the bills. I'm getting chills as I say that, because this is not coming from an egotistical place. For me, it was like, oh my God, I have worked so hard and I've committed to myself so hard that I've created this safety for myself. And that safety felt, and it still feels so good to feel safe in myself, to not worry. And I still have that little seed of, and this is my ongoing personal growth work, I still have that seed of, but what if you lose it all? And what if the money stops coming in? And what if, because that financial trauma was so big, I really did not have anything. I really did at one point lose it all. And it's that fear is still a little bit there. And I know that that's my personal work. But yeah, so that was only, that conversation with my sister was only 3 years ago.
But I think that fear is, I don't think we ever really lose it. And I think it can be quite helpful because it keeps us grateful. I would never want to be in a position where I took things for granted. And it was you many years ago, and I can't remember, because you wrote for TLC for a while.
Yeah.
Some great content, which is still on the site. And you first introduced to me the concept of the money story. And I wrote my money story, and I realised, I grew up in a very poor family. My parents made our Christmas presents when we were little because they couldn't afford to buy us presents. So, we grew our own food. And that really stayed with me. And when I wrote it, I realised I had this idea that money was hard to get. And for me, like, I totally relate to your story of sharing your sister and how you feel when that money's in your account. And after writing my money story, I remember I did that launch, it went really well. And I saw an ad appeared on my Facebook feed. It was a Tory Burch handbag. And I loved it. It's a beautiful red handbag, cherry red. And so I went onto her site and I just bought it full price. I think it's about £600. And I'd never, ever do anything like that. I've never in my life, I've always gone for like, wait till it's on sale, buy the broken one because it's cheaper. Like I would always buy things that were kind of, no one else wanted because it's cheap.
Yeah.
But for me, that was a sort of like thing where like, I've made it, I can do it. Was a one-time thing. I could just go and do something. I didn't want to buy it cheap. The whole point was to buy something full price that was expensive, and to go, that's redefining how I work with money now.
I love that. Yeah, you rewrote your story in that moment. And it goes deeper. Like I mean, look, let's be real. You can't just go buy a £600 handbag and, oh, that's my money story cured. It doesn't work like that. You clearly gone through quite some transformation to then be able to do that from a really aligned place. It just felt really good. And the act of doing that then obviously opens up your energy for more.
Yeah, well, you know what? And that bag still brings me joy.
Yeah.
Like every time I see that bag, it connects with the meaning. And the meaning is like reaching a place whereby I was, and it wasn't just that material purchase. It was representing that I had enough. Because my life was always just enough. A bit like you. Like it's literally I could pay my bills.
Yeah.
But to have more than enough was quite a significant step.
Yeah.
When you look back on your business, so it took you 5 years to make money, to feel like you were making money. If you could go back on those 5 years, what would you do differently if you were doing that again? Do you think there were things you would have done earlier that would have changed that sooner for you? Or was this like the journey that had to be?
It's the journey that had to be. It's interesting, isn't it? There's all sorts of times in my life. Could I have made a different decision, had a better outcome? Yeah, I'm sure. But I find it's almost like I can't even think like that. It's just, it was what it was, and it's led me here. And I really just believe that everything is perfect. It's just as it's meant to be. And had I made some different decisions, could things have happened faster? Maybe. Had I don't know even how to answer that question. It's all perfect. And I'm genuinely really, really proud of my journey. Really proud of it. I have worked very hard. I mean, part of my success, I know, is leaning into and learning how to not work hard, like work smart. And, you know, that's perhaps a different conversation. And creating a business, it does require hard work. I mean, I love the whole Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week. I get it. Is it realistic? Not really. It takes effort. It takes persistence. It takes determination. It takes relentless commitment to showing up every single day. I do. I show up every single day. And some days I'm showing up for myself. You know, some days the showing up is I'm gonna pull back from my audience, from my community, from the work, from the laptop, and I'm going to show up for me. The big picture is so that I can be the best at what I do. But yeah, it takes commitment. I mean, I remember I had this kind of aha moment a couple of years ago where it occurred to me, you know, there's a lot of talk about, oh, she's an overnight success. And then when you really look at somebody's overnight success, you can nearly always discover that they've got at least 10. Well, I don't know where I got this information from. You might know, Hannah, but at least 10,000 hours of work has gone into the overnight success. And I sat down, I thought, I wonder how many hours I've physically coached people and shown up. And it was well over 10,000 hours. When I added it up, oh my goodness, I actually have. And I needed to sit down with a calculator and work it out, because it helped me really tap into my value and my worth and my, you know, when people say you're an expert, I wasn't really believing it. And until we really own it for ourselves, we can't really step into it. And I just needed on an energetic level to really own and step into it, because at the end of the day, I might be a 48-year-old woman with a really beautiful business. I still feel like a little kid half the time. I forget that I'm a grown-ass woman that kind of knows what she's doing. And I think that's the case for a lot of us. We still feel, you know, it's that imposter syndrome. We still feel like a child. And I still, every single day, I genuinely feel like I'm still figuring out this big grown-up world. I still have to consciously put on my big girl pants and make that phone call, or, you know, have that difficult conversation, or coach this person on something that, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, can I? And of course I can, but I have to remember who I am, where I've come from. And I have to do that regularly, actually. Yeah.
But I think that's all really good. To have that awareness, I think I would hate to sleepwalk through life and to kind of do things that didn't challenge me. And my husband and I always talk about kind of opening life out, you know, as we get older, doing more things, or putting ourselves outside our comfort zone. Because I think when you get too complacent and then you're, okay, I've done this, I'm not going to take on a new strand to my business, I'm not going to try and do something new. It's kind of like you kind of get smaller and die. And it's like, I want to be sharp and to be challenged, because I think that's what keeps us alive and makes us, you know, keeps us young as well. I think you talk about, you know, still feeling young, and I think I was 50 this year, and when I turned 50, I was horrified. I had such a crisis about turning 50, so I set myself a challenge of doing a handstand, like I hadn't done since I was a kid. I thought I want to be doing more as I get older, not less.
Yes. It's funny, I decided a couple of days ago I wanted Davina McCall's stomach when I turn 50. She's amazing. Like, if I can have her stomach when I turn 50, I'll have made it.
That's definitely more than a 4-hour week, getting that stomach.
Right? There's a commitment there. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. But I think, you know, you're right about that whole idea. I think if you work hard over many years and make wise decisions and build a good business, you probably can get to a place where you can run a business in 4 hours a week. But you don't start that point.
No.
You don't, you and I, so you took
Yeah.
out 10 as and as. Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers, he talks about that, about what makes success. And it's really interesting because actually very little of success is luck and is God-given talent, if you were, or intelligence. It's hard work. It's sometimes being born in the right place and being born in the right time of the year, for example, if you were to be a sports person. But it is those hours going into it. And so like to get to a 4-hour week, I think you've got to have put maybe 10 years in of 80-hour weeks. Then you can get the 4-hour week. But it does take a while to get there. So if someone's listening to this and they are they are feeling really inspired by your story and where you've got to, they're the you maybe kind of 8, 10, 12 years ago, and they're not there yet. They're struggling. They're not making an impact or bringing in money yet. What would be your advice for those people?
I actually think it links back to what you said earlier when you made those 3 points around, and one was the key was getting support and not feeling like you have to do it on your own. I think that's really important. I think that's a game changer, actually. You have to get support. And I know, especially if you feel like you're not making the money, and how I've been there, it's like, well, how could I possibly invest in support when I'm not making the money? There are ways and means. And any woman that's attracted to this podcast in particular, she's intelligent, she's capable, she's resourceful, she can figure it out. It's really making that decision to choose to figure it out. And there's levels to support, right? So you might not go for the 50K coach or the 100K coach. You might start with somebody, but there's always someone that's several steps ahead of you. And there's massive power in it. I mean, this really is something that is underestimated. There's huge power and huge value in being witnessed by somebody that is wanting the best for you. There's something, it's hard to put into words. It's very energetic. Just being witnessed and having space held for you where you can share your worries, share your concerns, share your biggest desires, ask the questions like, what is my next step? To just not feel on your own. It injects such an energy into you and your life and your business that's it's unquantifiable and hard to define. But we're just not meant to do it alone. That's really, really important. That really is my biggest tip. And be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. And remember also, like, you can always change your mind. Like, sometimes we get on a path of doing the job and it looks good and it sounds great. Oh, she's an entrepreneur and look what she's doing, and she's dropped out of the 9 to 5. And you know what? If it's not serving you, it's not serving you. And just stop and take stock and ask yourself, like, what really would serve me right now? Do I need to get a part-time job? Like, if you're feeling like you're not able to serve your community or you're not making the money and that there's stress there, that stress is so counterproductive. So maybe you need to take a job a day or two a week. Maybe you need to take on some freelance work. I mean, I actually remember when I pulled out of corporate. I was working full-time in my business. I was writing my book. And then an opportunity came up, and I was doing okay financially, but it was really tight and it was quite stressful. And an opportunity came up where I was approached to go and work on the London Olympics. And it had been years since I'd worked in that space, but I had very unique experience, and they were going to pay me really good money for a short, I think it was a 2 or 3 month contract. And I took it on. I'm not going to lie. It really jutted up against some of my values. And I made a lot of money out of that, and it supported me for many months afterwards, so I could really relax in my business. And I think sometimes we have to make those decisions to reduce the stress in our life so that we can be our most creative, passionate, inspired self. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie. So if people want to come and find you and learn more about you, where can they go?
They can come to the School of Self.love is our website. And I'm on Instagram as I'm just moving over to one. I've been trying to run 2 accounts for years and it's ridiculous. So I'm merging everything to at Katie Phillips with love. And our Facebook business page is Katie Phillips with love.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Katie. It's been really interesting to learn more about your story. And I'm, like I say, I followed you for years. So we kind of met quite early on in Times Ladies Club. And so I'm really delighted to see you doing so well and enjoying it as well.
Thank you. And vice versa. Yeah, you and I actually have such a long history together. And it is really beautiful to see how both our businesses have evolved. And yeah, our determination and passion continues on. It's good. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.